So if you've ever had that gut feeling, that something was off, but you were so excited to pursue the fun, exciting opportunity with a new partner or with some circumstance that has presented itself to you, but maybe you decide to ignore that gut feeling or kind of put it out of your mind because you want to pursue that good feeling. And then in the end, it turns out that gut feeling was actually telling you the truth, and you wind up feeling kind of disappointed anyway. That's a difficult circumstance to experience, right? And then you might find yourself questioning yourself. Did I manifest that? Or was it that the universe was trying to tell me something? So it's kind of like a which came first, the chicken or the egg question. And I believe that it's actually a little bit of both. So today I want to address this question using an example from our Facebook feed here. And specifically, we're going to talk about the difference between hope and faith. We're also going to apply the law of attraction as a framework for interpreting disappointing scenarios. We're going to talk a little bit about a spiritual paradox of surrendering control while at the same time taking control. And we're going to have a positive reframe that's going to allow you to experience rejection as protection and to recognize your own tremendous manifesting power. So I invite you to stick with me for this segment because I think you're going to get a lot out of it. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Brianna McWilliam, and I am a licensed and board-certified creative arts therapist, author, and educator with more than 15 years in the field, helping adults struggling with insecure attachment go from self-doubting to self-sovereign so they can attract those soul-shaking, passionate partnerships that they want without having to talk in circles around their feelings for hours or even years on end with no tangible result. Today, I'm going to be sharing a clip of a live stream event that took place inside my private Facebook groups, which people can access once they've purchased one of my online courses. If you're interested in finding out if you might have insecure attachment, check out the link in the caption of this video. You'll be able to take an easy 4-question quiz and find out your attachment style, plus a detailed explanation. Now, if you like what you see in here, and you haven't yet, make sure that you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. I put out videos once or twice a week, and sometimes I will do occasional live streams through my YouTube channel, and I wouldn't want you to miss out. So let's call this segment How to Manifest Love in Your Life, and why that hasn't happened yet. So today's topic was really inspired by a question posed in the Facebook group feed, and to paraphrase, it went something like this. So what is the difference between intuition and manifestation? I think X is going to happen, and then it does. I usually hope it doesn't, but when I've got that feeling, it's hard to ignore. For example, I was invited to a holiday celebration, and I felt excited. This person seemed to be reliable based on my limited experience, but a day or so before, I got an overwhelming feeling that it wasn't going to happen. Sure enough, he canceled. I can't see that I said or did anything to manifest it. I felt like the universe was talking to me rather than me talking to it. Okay. So the first point I want to make is that this boils down to a difference between hope and faith. So faith is believing in something, believing that something is true when there's no evidence to support it, and hope is wishing that something will be true in the future. So when you have faith, you can move mountains. When you have hope, there's still a fly in the ointment. But depending on what kind of hope you have, that can build a bridge to faith. So hope that keeps you clinging to fantasies that only fuel a need for outcomes to look and be just so is kind of a hope that keeps you locked in a misery cycle. But hope that allows you to dive straight down into grieving the loss of those fantasies because you are finally willing to accept the idea that there's gotta be something better on the other side of it, that breaks a misery cycle. So the second thing I want to address is the framework for answering this question. Now, with the language used to pose the question, it appears as though this inquirer was looking for a law of attraction response, and so that's the framework with which I'm going to address this. So let's say you met this person, and in this example it was a man, and he seemed like a good prospect. He made some fun plans with you, and while you really liked that idea, you had a sense that it might be too good to be true. In the question it specifically states, I can't see that I said or did anything to manifest it. It being the ultimate cancellation and rejection. So that reflects a high value being placed on the actions and behaviors as being the primary fuel for the way things are going to go. but this is counter to what actually makes manifestation work. So it's kind of like you're saying, I behaved well, and because of all of that, it should have led to a certain outcome. But the outcome that happened was bad, and I knew in my gut it was going to be bad. So does this mean that I'm on the universe's shit list? Or am I not loving myself well enough to earn the partnership that I want? And you also mentioned I usually try to add that I hope it doesn't, let's say, go the way I want it to go, but when I've got that feeling, it's hard to ignore. Now that suggests that this might be a pattern for you. At least it happened more than once. And you have a habit of trying hard to ignore your feelings because you think that maybe you shouldn't be feeling that way, or you don't want to feel that way, or why shouldn't you be? And is that because your external world tells you so, or because a potential partner's smiles or promises or maybe even dismissals convince you that your gut must be wrong? And you accept that because you believe what you've been taught, which is that the external world and its validation is more important than your internal sense, right? So there's something kind of energetically stuck on repeat, and it's likely to be the way that you are approaching these situations, interpreting your feelings, and writing the narrative around them. Because remember, as human beings, we walk two parallel paths in this life. So we exist in a state of separateness while at the same time being part of a larger collective and consciousness. So yes, you accurately sensed doubt or inconsistency or unreliability in him, but it's just as likely that that is because it is also there within you as well. So your doubt may have already been there beneath the surface of your awareness, and it attracted him into your experience to make itself known so that you might address it more consciously within yourself, because perhaps within yourself it is sitting on top of and bottlenecking a whole bunch of other stuff that you really want, kind of like a cork that's ready to pop. And so in other words, you might now be ready to hear what it is that I'm going to suggest to you today. And that brings me to my third point, and that is to describe a bit of a spiritual paradox. And this includes two things to consider. So number one, the law of attraction says that the universe only mirrors back to you and matches what you are sending out. And it does this with no moral judgment or discernment. And the second thing is, because you are whole, because the whole of you, I should say, is by its very nature unknowable in its entirety, and that part of you is indelibly connected to the collective whole of all human consciousness, your waking mind will never be able to truly conceive of the entirety of you, let alone control it, no matter how hard you try or how many manifesting rituals you conduct. And that means that we are never fully aware of everything that we are energetically sending out. And even if we could be, that would defeat the purpose of being, a human being, or being a spiritual being having a human experience, right? A physical experience. Because the fun is found in slipping into these surprising little traps that make us question who we are and what we want anyway, as a means of finding our way out of them, right? And so just to give you a visual example, in the recent Star Wars movie, and this is a bit of a spoiler alert, there's a scene where the characters fall into a sand trap. And it's an underground cavern. And there's this huge snake-like monster that bars their escape. And the men on the team want to shoot or kill it or somehow force it aside. But Rey, who's the female lead, on the other hand, decides that she's going to take a pause. She's going to empathically connect with that monster, give it her focus, life force, energy, and attention, and generously heal its wounds instead. And then once she does this, the monster willingly lets them pass. And this is the wisdom that your spirit is usually trying to get you to recognize in every fearful or disappointing experience that we encounter. So the trick is learning to surrender what you cannot control so that you are better equipped to take action on what you can. And that leads us to another and more expanded level of surrender, which leads us to a deeper and more impactful, inspired action step to take, and so on and so forth, because we are forever expanding and contracting, expanding and contracting. And like a budding Jedi, if we are humble enough to attempt to dialogue with the great mysteries of our own essential being and by extension the collective and the universe. As scary as that might be, the rewards are a growing awareness of the true power and the extent of our free will. Now, in this circumstance, it's likely that the frame through which you're interpreting your experience is narrowed by ego attachments or a narrative that was either socially indoctrinated or self-created over time. So, you attracted a man that was a match for all the good, hopeful, happy things that you hoped for, right alongside a familiar feeling of doubt, inconsistency, and an expectation that things are not going to work out. And so it sounds like your body or your extrasensory perception picked up on this congruence between your vibes. So a part of you said, this is someone that expresses a pattern that is known to us. This is a recognition of sameness that we are experiencing. And so when it comes to attachment, we like the familiar, we like the known, we like sameness. It feels like kismet, but it also means more of the same. And if you've had enough of that kind of sameness in your life, it's going to create a question in your mind. So then maybe another part of you says, pursue it anyway. There is something here that we might need to learn about, especially about our underlying desires, and the contrast that it generates could peel back a new, useful layer on a more conscious level. So then, as you interact with one another, your hopefulness and your desire for things to work out or to experience something outside of the known pattern gets stronger. And maybe the doubt, which we're now going to define as a recognition of what is known and previously experienced, wasn't actually directing your experiences as much. And so as you interact with each other and your good feeling energy grew, you also allowed a current of desire and a dream of what could be to kind of sweep you downstream. And so in other words, you moved into a new and different energetic, let's call it vibrational set point. And that also means that now perhaps you're increasingly becoming a mismatch for this person, because the high-flying feelings that you were having were sending out a beacon of desire. I want to experience these exciting, anticipatory, good feelings with a partner on the holidays. I love this circumstance so much. Yes, universe, please, more of this. So the universe hears this, and via the law of attraction, it must respond to you. But because you only experience your life moment to moment through the lens of your waking mind and your attachment system and all of the indoctrinated beliefs you may have acquired up until this point, which is often a preoccupation with a focus on the world of physical form or the bodies that are in front of you, you assume that the answering of that call must look like going to this celebration with this specific person on that particular holiday. And when that thing doesn't happen, you think that your wand is broken, right? Or there must be some divine plan for you that has predetermined your fate, which for this year includes suffering alone on that holiday. But, what if the universe just granted you the greatest gift by canceling those plans? What if, in fact, this is the answer to your manifesting desire? So knowing the true breadth and diameter of what it is that you are energetically requesting for your life, love, and experience, and knowing the full scope of the person that you only knew in a limited capacity and could only make assumptions about, what if the universe kindly knocked this person off your path because he clearly did not meet this new energetic set point that you have established? And maybe this arbitrary holiday is relatively insignificant in the eyes of Source or your own higher knowing. Now, I would argue that real-world events unfolded to reveal that this is perhaps the more accurate interpretation of what happened, because he was not actually a good fit for what you were energetically wanting and requesting. He was, in fact, unreliable. And it turns out you dodged a bullet. Or you might reframe it to think of as rejection is protection. Okay? So if you're basically asking me, how do I know if my manifesting mojo is broken? It seems to me that you are a powerful manifester indeed. And in this sense, intuition and manifestation are not so disparate from one another, and in fact, they inform each other. So one more thing to consider as I wrap up this particular question And I want to bring it back to what we started with, which was the difference between hope and faith. Now, if you toot all day long, I want this, this, and this, and this in a partner, and I know and I trust and I believe and I have faith that such a person exists for me, and I'm 1,000 times over worthy of it, and every day the universe is bringing to me inch by inch towards that person. And you go to sleep smiling about this, and you wake up in the morning singing this tune and marching to that beat. This is a very clear message that you are sending to the universe. It is the essence of faith. But if you go around telling everyone that you want this, this, and this, and this, and that in a partner, but you only hope that one day that person might show up while expecting to be disappointed, okay, it sends a more mixed and cloudy energetic message and request to the universe. But if you can utilize hope, right, not everybody's there yet, but if you can utilize hope as a bridge to actively looking for evidence that the universe is responding to you and not dictating to you, then hope can lead to faith. Because when you make a real effort to look for that kind of proof in your environment, you will find it.